Alright, settling in. Same slow breath, same voice. No reset, no new beginning. Just the work, unfolding the way it always does. You wake before the pain fully wakes with you. Not because your body feels rested, but because habit pulls you upright before comfort ever gets a vote. The dark is still thick. The air is cold enough to sting your nose when you breathe in. Somewhere nearby, someone else is already moving. Wood creaks. A cough travels through the walls. Morning does not arrive with warmth or encouragement. It arrives with obligation. You sit up slowly, because moving too fast reminds you of everything that hurts. Your hands ache first. They always do. Fingers stiff, joints reluctant, skin rough and split in places that never quite heal. You flex them gently, not to make them better, just to make them usable. Pain like this doesn't vanish. It loosens, the way a knot loosens when you pull at it long enough. You don't think of this as injury. Injury implies an event, a moment something went wrong. This is different. This is accumulation. You pull on clothes that are still faintly damp from yesterday's work. They never fully dry. The smell of labor clings to them. Smoke, sweat, earth, animal, whatever your work demands of you. You don't wrinkle your nose at it. This is the smell of being alive, of earning the right to eat. Outside, the world is gray and unfinished. The ground is hard. Your breath shows. You step into your work before your mind has time to object. In medieval life, work does not wait for you to feel ready. It begins when the day allows it, and it continues until light or strength runs out. Your body is not a tool you protect. It is the tool you spend. And from the first hours of the day, you are already using tomorrow's strength. Your hands are always busy. They grip, they twist, they pull, they strike. They carry the entire memory of your work written into them in thickened skin and crooked joints. Each task demands the same motions, over and over, day after day, season after season. There is no variation to save you. No rotation of duties to spread the damage around. If you work the fields, your hands wrap endlessly around wooden handles, the grain of the wood pressing into the same spots on your palms until calluses grow like armor. If you spin or weave, your fingers learn fine, precise movements that steal their strength slowly, quietly. If you hammer, sew, knead, carve, scrub, or haul, your hands adapt by becoming less flexible, less forgiving. Pain arrives gradually enough that you barely notice its beginning. At first, it's just soreness at the end of the day. Then stiffness in the morning. Then a dull ache that never quite leaves. Fingers that no longer straighten fully. Wrists that complain when you lift even light things. Grip that weakens, forcing you to hold tighter, which only accelerates the damage. There is no word for repetitive strain. No understanding that the work itself is reshaping your body in ways it will never undo. You do not rest your hands when they hurt. You cannot. Hands that stop working stop earning. Stop contributing. Stop justifying the food they consume. Pain becomes something you work around, the way you work around bad weather or poor tools. Sometimes you look at the hands of older workers and see your future. Fingers bent at odd angles. Knuckles swollen and permanent. Movements slow, careful, precise not from skill, but from limitation. And still, they work. Because hands that rest are hands that starve. Your back learns the shape of your labor. It curves under loads that are never evenly balanced. It bends and twists in ways no one ever taught it to avoid. You lift sacks, stones, barrels, bundles, bodies. You lean forward for hours at a time, spine locked into a position it was never meant to hold that long. There is no concept of proper lifting. No advice about posture. Strength is assumed to be infinite until proven otherwise. When your back first protests, it does so quietly. A twinge when you straighten up. A tightness that lingers after work. You ignore it, because everyone's back hurts. It's part of the job, whatever your job happens to be. Over time, the pain deepens. It settles into the muscles beside your spine, then into the spine itself. Some days it feels like pressure. Other days it feels like heat. Sometimes it feels like a sharp reminder that makes you freeze mid-motion, breath caught, waiting for the world to let you move again. But the work does not pause for this. You learn how to move in smaller ways. How to avoid certain motions, not because they are dangerous, but because they are unbearable. You compensate with other muscles, other joints, spreading the damage outward like ripples. By middle age, if you reach it, you stand slightly bent, even when you don't mean to. Straightening fully feels wrong, like forcing something back into a shape it no longer remembers. At night, lying down doesn't always help. Sometimes the pain is worse when the weight comes off. Your back, finally free, does not know what to do with itself. You stare into the dark, listening to your own breathing, waiting for sleep to dull what the day has carved into you. You breathe in your work. Not metaphorically, literally. The air around you is thick with things that were never meant to be inside a human body. Dust from grain, fibers from wool and flax, smoke from fires that never draw properly, ash from kilns and forges, mold from damp walls, animal dander, dried waste ground into fine powder underfoot. You inhale it all without comment. Coughing is common, so common it barely registers. Everyone coughs. Children cough. Old people cough. You cough in the morning, cough during work, cough at night. It is not considered a warning sign. It is considered a fact of life. Your lungs adapt the only way they can, by enduring. Breath becomes shallower over the years. Running is harder. Climbing slopes leaves you winded. Cold air bites deeper in winter, sending pain through your chest that lingers long after you're indoors again. Sometimes you feel a tightness you can't explain, as if your chest is wrapped too tightly. Sometimes you wheeze. Sometimes you wake at night struggling for breath, heart pounding, unsure why your body has decided breathing should suddenly require effort. There is no diagnosis, no understanding of long-term exposure, no masks, no ventilation beyond whatever gaps exist in walls and roofs. You keep breathing the same air because it is the only air available. And slowly, invisibly, it takes years from your life while you're busy earning each day. Your feet carry everything, your body's weight, the weight of what you carry, the weight of standing still for hours on unforgiving surfaces, stone floors, packed earth, frozen ground, mud that sucks at your steps and never quite releases. Shoes, if you have them, are thin, worn, repaired until there is little original material left. They protect you from cuts and sharp stones, but not from impact, not from strain. By the end of each day, your feet throb. The pain rises upward, settling into your ankles, your knees. You learn to shift your weight constantly, even without thinking about it, trying to find a position that hurts less. Over time, the bones themselves begin to change. Toes crowd together, arches flatten, joints stiffen, walking becomes slower, not because you want it to be, but because your feet refuse to move faster. You don't sit unless the work allows it. And the work rarely does. When you finally lie down at night, your feet feel swollen, alive with sensation, as if they are still standing. Sleep comes despite this, not because of comfort, but because exhaustion outweighs pain. In the morning, putting weight on them again is a negotiation. A few careful steps, a pause, then movement resumes, because it has to. Feet like this don't heal. They endure until they fail. The weather is never neutral. Cold stiffens your joints, turning pain sharper, more insistent. Dampness seeps into bones and settles there, lingering long after clothes dry. Heat drains your strength faster than you can replace it, sweat carrying away what little salt and energy you have. You work through all of it. Rain soaks you until your clothes cling heavy and cold. Snow numbs fingers until they stop responding the way you expect. Wind cuts through layers that were never designed to block it. Shelter is minimal, breaks are brief. Fire is precious and not always close. Exposure doesn't kill you outright, most of the time. It weakens you instead, makes injuries slower to heal, makes sickness easier to catch, makes fatigue deeper and longer lasting. Your body spends energy just staying warm, or just staying cool enough to function, leaving less for repair. By winter's end, you feel older than you did when it began. By summer's peak, you feel worn thin, as if there is less of you to work with than there used to be. And the seasons keep turning, indifferent to how much they take. Your tools are simple: wood, iron, stone. No padding, no adjustments, No thought given to how they interact with the human body over time. A tool is good if it works. If it breaks, it is replaced. If you break, you are not. Handles are the wrong size for your grip. Edges vibrate with each strike. Weight pulls downward in ways that strain tendons and ligaments. You adapt by tightening your grip. By leaning into the work harder. By letting your body absorb what the tool does not. Over years, this creates a map of damage unique to your labor. Shoulders that burn. Elbows that lock. Wrists that click when you move them. You don't complain. Complaints change nothing. Sometimes a tool slips and cuts you. Sometimes it crushes a finger. Sometimes it lands just wrong and sends pain shooting up your arm. These are treated as accidents, unfortunate but expected. The slower injuries, the ones caused by thousands of correct motions done too often, are invisible. You don't know they are happening until they are already permanent. Your eyes strain constantly. Light is never ideal. Indoors, it is dim and uneven. Outdoors, it can be blinding. You squint against glare off stone or water. You lean close to fine work, bringing it nearer and nearer as your vision subtly shifts. Candles flicker. Smoke stings. Shadows move. You don't have glasses. Even if you did, few could afford them. You adapt instead, bringing objects closer, working slower, relying on touch where sight fails. Headaches become common. Eyes ache by the end of the day. Words blur. Threads blur. Faces blur at distances that once felt normal. You don't name this as loss. You name it as fatigue. As age. As bad light. By the time you realize how much you can no longer see, there is nothing to be done. You keep working anyway, because sight is not required to suffer. Food is never enough. Not in quantity. Not in variety. Not in consistency. You eat to keep going, not to rebuild. Bread, porridge, whatever else is available. Protein is rare. Fresh produce is seasonal. Vitamins are a concept centuries away. Your body is breaking down faster than it can repair itself. Muscles stay sore longer. Wounds close slowly. Illness lingers. Fatigue accumulates. Hunger is not dramatic. It is constant. A low-level emptiness that becomes normal, like background noise. You don't eat until full. You eat until the food is gone. Some days, you work on almost nothing. Those days are the hardest. Strength drains quickly. Mistakes happen more easily. Injuries are more likely. You tell yourself tomorrow will be better. Sometimes it is. Often it isn't. And the work continues regardless. Pain stops being a signal. It becomes atmosphere. At first, pain tells you something is wrong. Later, it simply tells you that you are awake. You stop reacting to it emotionally. There is no surprise, no fear, no panic. Just acknowledgement. Yes, this hurts. Of course it does. You learn which pains matter, the sharp ones, the sudden ones, and which can be ignored. The dull aches fade into the background, present but unremarkable. This is how people continue working through damage that would stop someone else cold. You don't think of yourself as injured. You think of yourself as functional. And functionality is enough. Sleep is not restoration. It is pause. You collapse into it because your body has nothing left to give, not because it is ready to recover. The surface you sleep on is hard. The cold seeps up from below. The noise of others shifts and breathes around you. Pain doesn't vanish in sleep. It blurs. It quiets. It waits. You wake still tired, still sore, still carrying yesterday with you. But sleep has done its job. It has kept you alive another day. That is all it is expected to do. Children work early. Their bodies are smaller, more flexible, more forgiving, at first. They lift too much. They stand too long. They repeat the same motions adults do, without the strength to support them. Bones grow under strain. Joints set wrong. Damage begins before growth finishes. By the time they reach adulthood, their bodies are already marked. This is normal. This is how life is. No one intervenes. No one questions it. Work does not wait for maturity. There is no recovery, no rest days, no physical therapy, no understanding that healing requires time and care. If you are injured badly enough, you stop working. If you stop working, you stop surviving. Most people choose pain. Bandages are crude. Medicine is limited. Knowledge is incomplete. You heal as much as you can, then return to work before healing is finished. That unfinished healing becomes the baseline. Age arrives quietly and too soon. Your reflection changes before you expect it to. Lines deepen. Movement slows. Strength fades earlier than it should. You feel old not because of years lived, but because of years worked. You watch younger people move the way you used to, and you recognize the path they're on. You don't warn them. There is no alternative to offer. Work ends when bodies do. Some people collapse suddenly, others fade slowly, becoming less capable, less useful, less present. There is no retirement, no reward for endurance. Your body is spent the way a tool is spent, used until it cannot be used anymore. And when it finally stops, the work does not pause. Someone else takes your place. The world keeps turning, and the silence that follows your labor is not remembered as suffering, but simply as history settling back into the dark. You breathe, you rest, and the night holds what the day has taken.